SmackDown started off in a pretty interesting way. Cody Rhodes walking outside during the day with a binder in his hand, like he's going to class in high school, and he's going to the other building. Just this is how we're starting off the SmackDown before Saturday Night's main event, I guess. It's captivating television. WWE champion without a championship in sight. At least I didn't think there was a championship in sight. I wasn't looking at the TV all the way. It was just his face by the time I looked at it. But then we get Trick Williams just aura farming inside of an empty stadium. We were in his hometown, so Lil Yachty accompanied him to the ring, and Trick Williams' family was in attendance. And Trick Williams was talking about eating chicken and waffles and his 3 chains. His hometown got to see him in action, got to see him. His family, the front row. Yeah, that's about it for this, because they got interrupted by Kit Wilson and The Miz, and then they started chanting "tiny balls," and then Lil Yachty had a little rap session or whatever, and then they just had a match because, you know, impromptu matches, when a promo interruption, you know, that's usually how it goes. So it's pretty formulaic. Yeah, but it was just a treat for the crowd in attendance to see their hometown hero or whatever. And then The Miz gets chop sueyed outside on the barricade, and then The Miz puts the skull crushing finale on Trick Williams, and Trick Williams kicks out. This is a big deal because Wrestling 101 has been for years. Hey, we have someone perform in their hometown in front of their friends and family, and we have them lose. So this is kind of cool to see Trick Williams win, because Lil Yachty pulled a kendo stick away from The Miz, and Kit Wilson got hit by the kendo stick, and then Trick Williams hit the trick shot on The Miz for the 1, 2, 3, and then everyone went crazy. And then we go backstage to Sami Zayn. I really like this character of Sami Zayn, of not knowing why he's being booed, even though it's obvious why he's being booed. And then we get Rey Fenix back on SmackDown. Just trying to calm down Sami Zayn. And then Jey Uso, or Usi Juicy as he's known by on Instagram, made an Instagram post because, yeet, yeet, yeet. And then we go to Paige and Brie Bella talking about how it took them years to get these championships, and it took them years to get to this point. But the thing is, that's just a lie, because Paige said it took them years and they've been focused on getting these titles for so long. But Paige signed with the company this year, and by the time that she was talking about the years it took for her to get those championships with Brie Bella, they weren't even a team. Then on top of that, Paige was AEW Women's Champion. So what the hell is she talking about? It took her years, and they were it didn't make any sense. But anyways, she was in AEW by the time. Anyways, Lash Legend and Nia Jax talk to them and say some words that nobody really cares about, because the women's tag division is long gone in the first place. I don't know why they still have it. No, it's because they can't get rid of the women's tag division, even though it has no value, because people are going to be outraged online and they're going to say misogyny and all that garbage or whatever. So then, Brie Bella defeats Kiana James. But the thing with Kiana James is, which is kind of funny, is that the company failed Julia, and then they wanted to push Kiana James. So what they did was gave Kiana James a big spot in the Royal Rumble. They gave her a spot in the Elimination Chamber, tried to build her up, and then for some reason they just failed Kiana James creatively too. Had her had her have a bunch of matches and then lose all 4 of them. So now she's back at square one, where nobody cares about her anymore. Then they took away her purse, which she feels kind of naked without. So yeah, just that's what they're doing with these women. They're just taking away what makes them special, and then they're just taking away whatever makes them unique, you know. I guess that's just what they do. They say, well, you know, the wrestler's good, but we failed them, but we're going to make it look like it's their fault. So yeah, Kiana James and Julia are teasing this breakup once more, but the problem is creative has failed both of them so terribly to the point where we don't care about either of them. So this turn isn't going to mean anything. Someone's going to turn face, someone's going to turn heel, and no one's going to care. Chelsea Green back after her heart procedure, and then we get Tiffany Stratton talking to Kathy Kelly, but then in the background you can see Kiana James and Julia arguing, but still no one's going to end up caring at the end as far as the fans are concerned, because both these women have been dealt bad hands creatively. So none of this is gonna work. No one's gonna care about this, and this is really unfortunate. But yeah, Cody Rhodes comes out and then, does the whoa or whatever. Gunther comes out and then, Cody Rhodes starts talking, opens his mouth, and then he immediately reminded me one of the reasons why the ratings keep falling, because Drew McIntyre, when he was WWE champion, the ratings are through the roof, Just shows me that Cody Rhodes is not a draw whatsoever. What do you want to talk about? Columbia, South Carolina. What do you want to talk about? I'm gonna kick your ass, Gunther, and I'm going to beat you at Saturday night's main event, or in Clash in Paris, or WrestleMania, or it's just, I don't know, bro. It just truly reminds me of how bland, like, Cody Rhodes is he truly feels like a mid-carder whenever I see him on screen. His character's unbearable, bland, and boring, bro. It's like boiled chicken and seasonless rice. That's what I get from Cody's character, bro. It is so unbearable. And the fact that people just eat this garbage up is even worse. It's just even worse, because they'll turn on Cody and then they'll get used to Cody again. Like, we were just booing Cody because of Randy, and then they were booing Cody because he beat Drew. Then once Drew got absolutely destroyed, they started cheering Cody again because they like his theme song or whatever. And then they get to his actual matches, and then they're not cheering for Cody because they find Cody boring, even in attendance, in person, when they cheer everyone. So your person who you put the WWE Championship on isn't even a draw when he's actually wrestling, just during his whoa. So you take the whoa away from him, and what is the crowd left with exactly? So then after that, after Gunther says some words and Cody says some words, and Cody looks on his face how we all looked when we were watching SmackDown, when SmackDown isn't even gaining millions of views, it's just 1 million, and they're struggling to even do that. A few weeks ago, they were at 900,000, which is a huge problem because this is supposed to be the biggest wrestling promotion in the entire world. They start saying some words, and then Rolls Royce Car Keys says, "If you won't sign it, I will." And then they start, squabbling and scrambling over the WWE Championship contract. And then Nick Aldis says, "Well, instead of you signing the contract, even though that's why you're here, because you ended up signing a contract last week to guarantee that you are the WWE Champion challenger." But also, you're kind of a SmackDown star because you kind of signed a contract with Paul Heyman backstage. But here's where the company fails to realize logic, because the company doesn't rely on logic, because the people backstage who are booking don't really understand what they're booking either. So they just say, "Well, we're going to do one thing, but since we don't care about this show at all, and we're just trying to go home after the third hour's over, we'll just give the crowd whatever they want, and the people at home can just watch and pick it apart later." So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. So yeah, Nick Aldis comes out and says, "Yeah, well, it's too late for you. You threw away your opportunity to sign the contract." But the problem is, contract signings don't have a limit. They don't have a time limit. So just because Gunther took an extra 30 seconds to sign the contract that was already promised to him, because he's the person who took out Cody Rhodes in the first place. Yeah, just gonna give it to. We're just going to have a meaningless match to see who's going to. So it's just a filler. It's just a filler match. Another filler match. We're going to have another filler match because why not? Because we have nothing planned for this main event. We're just throwing stuff at the wall. So instead of following a storyline of Gunther and Cody with a contract signing, which made sense because it's a storyline, yeah, we're just going to they're just going to have a match for the main event because we had nothing planned for the main event. So we're just going to throw Gunther and Royce Keys there. But here's the only problem, though. Royce Keys is feuding with the MJFs. He's feuding with Solo and them. So none of this made sense whatsoever. Contract signings don't have a time limit, so the fact that all of this is stupid. So then we go to this is just because they didn't have a main event planned. So yeah. Anyways, yeah, and then we go to Tama Tonga and Shinsuke Nakamura. Shinsuke Nakamura gets attacked, and then we have Ricky Saints, Ricky Starks, Sticky Rarks, Tony Starks Jr. talking to Carmelo Hayes, who is finally off the milk carton. He's finally back on TV. He's not missing anymore. There's no need for the Amber Alerts at this point in time. Thank goodness. He's back on TV saying words backstage because they didn't have a match they didn't have a story for these two. They didn't have a story for Ricky Starks once they called him up. So they just had him lose his first match. He win against Matt Cardona, Zack Ryder. And yeah, he's gonna have a match against Melo, but then he loses this match against Melo. So yeah, Ricky Saints has been stained by Triple H upon arrival. Loses debut match, win against a jobber who is Matt Cardona. So that doesn't mean anything, so that's not a significant victory. So lose, win, lose. That's how absolute Ricky Starks gets called up by Triple H. No story, no vignettes, no hype packages. So the crowd, doesn't know who he is. And then on top of that, once the dude finally had his debut on SmackDown, nobody cared because they didn't know who he is, because these audiences are only super virgin marks, drunk people who only are there because their kids wanted to show up, and super ultra wrestling marks, WWE marks who only watch WWE, the giant bubble fans who don't watch any other promotion. So they'll see somebody debut or get called up. Oh, they don't watch NXT either. So they'll just see someone get called up or from another promotion, not know who they are. So you give Obafemi these hype packages. You don't give Royce Keys these hype packages, and he sure as hell didn't give Ricky Saints these hype packages. So you just have Ricky Saints losing his first match ever on SmackDown, win against Matt Cardona, and then this week, Tim Mello will lose to a fruit roll-up. But the stupid part is the finisher didn't put him away, because finishers don't finish much nowadays. So you mean to tell me that a fruit roll-up beat Ricky, but not a finisher? But on top of that, he's new as hell. Why is he even losing? If we're trying to take him serious. But yeah, anyways, he looks like a fool now because he lost to a fruit roll-up. And then on top of that, the dude has now lost like 90% of his matches now. Dude's only been here for like a month. Probably less. Anyways, R-Truth talks about a clubhouse, Mickey Mouse clubhouse, players club, trying to set up the whatever the hell with. I don't know, bro. It's upsetting what they're doing with R-Truth. They have him doing this. A lot of people are saying, well, to be fair, R-Truth has been doing this funny gimmick for over a decade. It's okay, man. It's whatever, bro. It's just his character. I'm like, yeah, it is his character, but how long before people get tired of him doing the same old dementia gimmick? Like, we were going to get something new, finally a new refresh, him being serious. And that just, they just fumbled that and then just had him be a goofball again. But, these whole confusion gimmick every single week, it's just repetitive as hell. It was funny 10 years ago, but, it's really is unbearable to watch, especially because I know how talented and smart. I know how much of a genius Ron Killings really is. So after that, after R-Truth looks at Royce's body and says, damn, you big. He said that for real. Damian Priest talks about, yeah, what was that? Oh, I don't trust him at all. And then, yeah, just words, and then more words, and then a couple more words, and then some words. Oh no, man, this is kind of depressing to watch. Not gonna lie, but the championships look good though. Those SmackDown Tag Team titles look gorgeous. But that's the only good thing about SmackDown. There's like a few things. So then after that, Danhausen becomes Rick Sanchez because he starts working on a cloning machine thingy and computer and robot chicken and It's Alive and all that stuff. And then we get Damian Priest versus Tama Tonga. Damian Priest almost destroys his body again because he botches once more, and kind of reminds me of once more why he was a failed world champion. On top of that, when he tried to dive onto Drew McIntyre and almost broke his leg and neck at the same time, because he's a Triple H guy. He's a hand-picked favorite, just like Rhea Ripley and the rest of them. Well, not the rest of them. It's just like Bobby Lashley said: if you don't have a connection with him, he won't push you. So he was like, "Yeah, well, he pushed me straight out the door because I was not a Triple H guy." Letting go of Bobby Lashley was such a fumble, bro. But anyways, yeah, after we get Damian Priest dropping himself on his nuts by mistake because he slipped, legitimately, this was not some sort of work. He legit slipped. And then Tama Tonga had to hurry up and make it look like he fell. So Tama Tonga pushed the ropes and tried to make Damian look good, but it didn't look good. But then after that, Damian Priest did something crazy. He beat Tama Tonga with a finisher. Not a fruity roll-up, but a finisher. So then after that, Hikuleo attacks Damian Priest or whatever. The crowd gets silent because nobody cares about this. And then we go to Sami Zayn and Johnny Gargano. Johnny Gargano is still doing his plank challenge, but the plank challenge has been cool since 2013. So then we move on to Jade Cargill and B-Fab and Mia Yim, and Wade calls them baddies, and he says it's hard not to take his eyes off the TV. So then we get Charlotte Flair and her sidekick Alexa Bliss. And that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Alexa Bliss is only there to eat the pins and is only there to get beaten up, because she takes literally all the pins in every single match that they have as a tag team. Yeah, it is what it is. She doesn't even get to talk much. Like, Alexa Bliss just there. Charlotte does all the talking. Charlotte does all the winning. If there's somebody who needs to eat the pins, it is Alexa. If there's somebody who needs to get beat up in a DQ finish, it is Alexa. Charlotte is always protected. If there's a multi-team beatdown, Charlotte Flair is on the outside of the ring. Alexa's taking all the damage. That is so sad what they've done. I knew this was going to happen, though. I knew this was going to happen because it's just a matter of time before Charlotte starts winning gold again. This is all by design, though. This is just unfortunate. And then after that, we get them confirming a match or whatever. So it's going to be a tag match between Charlotte, Alexa, and B-Fab and Michin. And immediately the crowd just gets super silent. I mean, you can hear the green shirt guy breathing. You can hear Michael Cole's Adam's apple drop when he swallows his drink. You can hear Wade Barrett's beard hair growing. Bro, it's so silent in there when they confirm this tag match. And then we get a Blake Monroe debuting soon thingy. And the more and more I see these week by week, the less and less I care. Because I know they won't book her right. They don't book the women right on SmackDown. They have Rhea Ripley as the women's champion, and they're not even booking her right. They have her as a side character tag team woman. She wasn't even on TV this week, and she's the women's champion. So if they don't book the women's champion right, what makes you think that? Anyways, man, I don't know. It's really hard to care. So then we get Alexa Bliss trying to entertain herself because she knows this match is boring. She's over here smiling and laughing and trying to have the best time possible because she knows how boring this match is. So Mia Yim has her in a bow and arrow submission. And then Alexa Bliss is just so happy because she's just trying to think of whatever to keep her entertained so she can entertain us with this trash booking that they always have for the women. So yeah, we get the usual match finish when there's Charlotte and Alexa as a team, and that is not a pinfall. No. It is a disqualification because if Alexa isn't getting pinned, like I said, she's getting beat up. All the time. So yeah, after that happens, there's a face-off between Charlotte and Jade Cargill, and that leads to nothing. Just cut to Fatal Influence saying words backstage, and yeah, they just said words, and that's about it. And then we get Charlotte and Alexa talking backstage and Charlotte saying, "Yeah, I don't work well with others," and blah blah blah. So yeah, and just as I said before, this is just going to be Charlotte and Alexa and Rhea Ripley. You know, Rhea Ripley is the women's champion who should be in another story, but nope. Let's just have a filler match at Saturday Night's Main Event. You know, have an unwatchable, boring, weirdly placed six woman tag. Just in the trios division, that's the world champion. Is just crazy. That's crazy. Imagine Darby Allin stuck in the trios division. That is insane. So then we get Royce Keys irritated with Solo Sikoa speaking to him, and his face is our faces when we were watching the show, and we learned that it was 3 hours. We're just going to be 3 hours long, and then we get Gunther coming out. But the only problem with Gunther is this is his first weekly show in like 2 months. But they tried to manufacture this man as 09 Orton or whatever, but they don't even use the man. Interesting. So then we get more exciting news. Hikuleo versus Shinsuke. No one cares. And then we get Rolls Royce car keys coming out. And I guarantee, bro, this was the quietest entrance during the entire night. I'm not gonna lie, like I heard the acoustics going on during his entrance, and this was worse than the Charlotte and Alexa versus B-Fab and Michin match. And that match was so boring to the part where I forgot that tag match was even happening. It was on, but I forgot it was on. I was just staring at the ring. The ring taking damage was more entertaining than the B-Fab and Michin and the Charlotte versus Alexa match. But yeah, we get Solo Sikoa coming out, and then we get a distraction, and then a Gunther bomb. And finally, no one kicked out of the Gunther bomb this time because Gunther's finishers always look weak because you have smaller dudes kicking out of them. Mello, Dragon Lee, Javon Evans. Everybody kicks out of Gunther's finishers. So it was nice to see a finisher win a match for Gunther, you know? So then he starts like invading the cameraman's personal space, trying to get all up in his grill, trying to kiss him, all that stuff. And then Cody Rhodes crossroads him, and then still no cliffhanger at the end of the match, or at the end of the show or anything. Just like Triple H era there's always a brawl or an attack to always end the show. There's no cliffhanger. There is no, well, a mystery happens and then we go to the next show to make you enticed to watch the next episode. Like, for example, I remember it was around WrestleMania season when Drew McIntyre and Jacob Fatu fell like 20 feet or whatever on, you know, and then, you know, it was Nick Aldis and them, and they were brawling on top of a giant structure, and then both Jacob and Drew fell down. That's a cliffhanger. There's always an attack or a brawl or someone hitting their finisher to end the episode. That's not a cliffhanger. That's just something happening, and then the show ends. Triple H's name pops up across the screen, and then we just go off air. Like, cliffhangers don't exist, and that's one of the reasons why. That's one of the other reasons why people don't watch these shows. But yeah, it's kind of hard for me to watch this rivalry between Cody and Gunther because they shook hands like multiple times. Now we're supposed to believe they're beefing. But they shook hands. Legit, Cody already beat Gunther. They had a match already, and and Gunther shook his hand. This is exactly what I mean. You can't be doing stuff like that because what happens if you have to come back to the match? And now we're here. Now we didn't have to came back to it, and now we came back to the match. Gunther versus Cody. What it's like besides Gunther wanting to be champion, well, like what other element of story is there to keep us excited? There's nothing. Well, yeah, that was SmackDown. 3 hours of absolutely nothing, and this is like a week before Saturday Night's Main Event, and nothing happened. 3 hours of nothing. 3 hours of fruit roll-ups and story gaps. They really just, yeah, and then people wonder why. If they're at a million, they can barely reach a million. Crazy work, man. Crazy work. Let me know what you think down in the comments below about this edition of SmackDown.